Hey, today I'm talking about 3 Humphrey Bogart films. And the names of those 3 films are Sahara from 1943, The Treasure of Sierra Madre, and In a Lonely Place. But that still is Sahara. This is a 1943 war movie. It's a World War II movie that was made in the middle of World War II, which just like blew my mind. Like, it makes sense that that would happen because World War II was several years, but it still was like crazy to me. I don't know. Anyway, the basic premise is this group of soldiers who have a tank are in the middle of the desert. Their battalion got obliterated, so it's just them, and they're ordered to retreat. So they're trying to hook back up with some other soldiers while also trying to not die in the desert. And along the way, they pick up a cast of characters. And it's really solid. It's definitely like a bit of a pro-war propaganda film, but at the same time, it's different than how I was expecting. Because it's not like a, yeah, America's great, yeah, we're the best, freedom, America, yeah. It does do like, F yeah, freedom's great, but it's not America freedom, it's like Allied Forces freedom. Like, they have American characters, they have British characters, there's a French character, there's a black man who is portrayed in such a positive light. I want to talk about him more in a second. There's also an Italian who's really interesting. So it's more about like how we're in this together. Especially like they make a big point about like the Americans are like, we're here helping the British. Specifically the British. I mean, we're helping other people too, but it's like, we're doing you guys a favor. But like, we're in this together though. Like, we're here because of you, but we're bros. We're good. And I like that aspect a lot. But going back to the one black character, they really gave him equal footing to everyone else, besides Bogart, but that makes sense because he's the lead. And I love that a lot. They actually made him a very important character. And then like they made the Nazi a racist, and they made a big point about like how the Nazi does a racist thing, but where it's like, whoa, you're trying to do some racist shit? All right. And then like counters that with some stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, this is great. This is the 40s and they're being anti-racist. This is great. And even like the end of their storylines are so good. That particular storyline, but really all of the storylines. It's just a really good, solid movie. Like, it's definitely like an underdog movie. It's got like some Alamo vibes. And I don't know, it works really well. It's just, Bogart gives a great performance. There's no doubt there. I have yet to see him give a bad performance, and this is no exception. But yeah, even though, you know, I'm not a pro-war guy by any means, this is still a good, solid movie that I enjoyed a lot and would totally recommend. It's a good time. Next up is The Treasure of Sierra Madre. This is a 1948 film, and the basic premise is Bogart plays this homeless man who teams up with 2 other homeless men in search of gold. And it's pretty solid. Bogart gives an incredible performance here. He definitely stands out. Like, the other 2 hobos also do a good job, and I believe one of the other ones actually won an Oscar for his performance. But Bogart was just great in this. He really went like off the rails, and that worked really well for me. And it was also just an interesting story, told well. My biggest issue kind of more so came from like, I paused the movie at one point to take a little bathroom break, and it felt to me like I was kind of like more like either the beginning of the 3rd act or kind of in the middle of the 3rd act. But no, turns out we were actually at the halfway point of the movie. So I was like, oh no, that's not good. So I'm guessing it's just like this movie's pacing just doesn't exactly work for modern audiences. I think there's some stuff that they could have cut out. There was definitely a bit of repetition there in terms of like kind of them going crazy at times. It's still definitely a good, solid movie that I would totally recommend. It's just, if you're like me, you might need to take like a little pause in the middle of it to kind of recharge a little bit. But it is definitely a good, solid movie that is worth a watch. And lastly is In a Lonely Place. This is a 1950 movie, again starring Humphrey Bogart, and the basic premise is Bogart plays this struggling screenplay writer, and he inadvertently gets involved in this murder, and so he's being investigated for murder, and because of that he also gets to meet his gorgeous next door neighbor who he maybe forms a relationship with. And it's hard to say what didn't exactly work in this movie for me, because I did like it, I still enjoyed it, but there's definitely something about about it that just didn't quite click for me. If I were to guess, I think it's because this film is kind of presented like a suspense thriller mystery thing, but to me it felt like, how do I say it, like the solution was really obvious, and when the characters kind of got to the solution at the end of the film, I was like, yeah, it's obviously that. Why didn't you see that? I get why, but it's also just kind of, I don't know. I did still find the movie interesting, the performances were good. It just, I don't know. I feel like the tone didn't quite land it for me. I think that could be a good way to describe it. Would I recommend it? I mean, it's fine, it's good, but like, I don't know. Again, there's so many other Bogart films that I like a lot more that like, you probably skip this one. It's good, it's just, you know, not at the top of my list by any means. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up we got Sahara sitting at number 5 in the really like section. And then not too terribly far behind is The Treasure of Sierra Madre sitting at number 7 at the top of the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is In a Lonely Place sitting at number 10 in the liked section. And this is out of a total of 12 old movies so far this year.